In the first part, we explored how our insecurities and fears can infiltrate every step we take, leading us to place obstacles in our own path. We also reviewed initial tactics to begin undoing those patterns that cause us to lose opportunities and achievements. However, it is not enough to identify these behaviors and recognize that we can overcome them. When we fully enter the success phase, new challenges emerge that can cause us, in a subtle way, to squander everything we had conquered. In this second part, we will delve deeper into the internal mechanisms that are activated just as we begin to achieve our goals or enjoy the position we desired. We will see why sometimes this stage is even more fragile than the previous phase, and how we can protect it to avoid falling into a repetitive cycle of self-sabotage, where we attain something valuable and then let it go without exactly understanding how it happened. The fragility of success. When we talk about the fragility of success, we refer to that almost paradoxical quality that, no matter how strong an achievement seems, it can actually come crashing down in the blink of an eye if we do not take care of it. In fact, some people experience a kind of invincibility at the moment of triumph, and that overconfidence becomes a time bomb that sooner or later detonates. Overconfidence and complacency. Once we achieve a goal, we feel a deep relief. Finally, we have arrived, we think. However, that same satisfaction can extinguish our drive to continue growing and improving. When we cease continuous improvement, we fall into the trap of complacency. We stop training ourselves, receiving feedback, and seeking ways to optimize ourselves. Thus, without realizing it, the environment changes, and we are left behind. The danger of believing that there's no need to learn anymore. Believing that we have reached the top and that we already know enough makes us easy prey for mistakes and obsolescence. Keeping curiosity alive is fundamental to staying up to date. Additionally, that curiosity acts as an antidote against an inflated ego, as it reminds us that there is always something new to discover. Identify your warning signs. We all have certain behaviors that reveal that we are resting on our laurels. For example, stopping reading about topics related to our professional field, ignoring constructive criticism, or minimizing errors that we previously took seriously. When you detect these attitudes in your life, stop and reflect. Am I taking care of what I have achieved, or am I leaving it on autopilot? The fragility of success is not meant to scare us, but to motivate us to protect what we have achieved. Visualize it as a valuable treasure that requires regular checks and constant maintenance, like a garden that needs watering and pruning to stay flourishing. Constant vigilance. The best tool to defend success is vigilance. We might think that once we have overcome our old fears and obstacles, we can completely relax. However, one of the greatest dangers is believing that we do not need to remain alert. Anticipate self-sabotage. Self-sabotage can take many forms. In this phase, it often presents itself as disdain for criticism, resentment toward those who question us, or even as a feeling of everything is owed to me, which generates friction with the team, family, or friends. Keep a mental record, or in a notebook, of situations that generate negative impulses in you. Do you react badly when something is not done your way? Do you take the support of others for granted without showing gratitude? Detecting these patterns in time is key to correcting them before they lead to a collapse. Pride and vanity as alarms. Does it bother you when someone else receives praise? Do you find it difficult to share the spotlight or the merits? It is very easy for pride to intoxicate us and make us believe that we deserve exclusive attention. Also, observe if you start to count your achievements solely to receive praise, or if you seek to belittle others' efforts. That kind of behavior is a sign that the ego is infiltrating. Keep your mind open to feedback. Vigilance is not just about hunting for negative thoughts or attitudes, but also about remaining willing to listen to sincere opinions. One of the best ways to stop a snowball that could destroy your success is to have people who, with kindness and objectivity, point out when you are deviating. Cultivate friendships or alliances with people who dare to tell you the truth, even if it hurts a little. A sincere piece of advice in time can save you from many annoyances and failures. When we talk about constant vigilance, we do not mean a state of paranoia or stress. It is rather a calm and continuous awareness that everything we achieve requires care. The habit of reviewing, evaluating, and making adjustments to our attitude and actions becomes an unparalleled strength to maintain success. The power of responsible success management. Here we take a step further. It is not just about conserving what we have, but about managing that success responsibly and collaboratively. If we raise a wall around our achievements, sooner or later we will be isolated and without allies, which makes it very easy for everything to collapse at the slightest stumble. Sharing the credit. Acknowledge the contribution of those who have accompanied you. When we achieve a goal, we tend to have the impression that it was all the result of our individual effort. But in most cases, there were mentors, colleagues, family members, or friends involved in some way. By sharing the credit, you not only demonstrate empathy and humility, but also strengthen relationships that, in the future, will be key to new projects or moments of crisis. Avoid isolation. Isolation is a silent way of sabotaging success. Sometimes feeling special or wiser than before, we distance ourselves from people who could offer us valuable feedback or keep us grounded. Instead of isolating yourself, seek to be part of communities or teams where mutual growth is fostered. It is easier to sustain what you have achieved when you surround yourself with individuals with compatible goals and the willingness to collaborate. Humble and collaborative leadership. If your success has positioned you as a leader, formally or informally, understand that your actions and even your daily communication influence the motivation and commitment of others. A person who leads from arrogance ends up generating fear or resentment, which undermines long-term projects. Collaborative leadership involves listening to your team, supporting them, and recognizing their talents. This approach not only benefits you, but also protects you from falling into exhausting dynamics where the ego becomes the conductor of the orchestra. Learning to delegate and trust. If you are one of those people who prefer to do everything on your own, you may fear that others will ruin your standards or not meet your expectations. However, doing everything yourself becomes unsustainable. Learning to delegate does not mean neglecting, but training and guiding others so they also develop their capabilities. This mutual trust strengthens your position and frees you to focus on what you can control or improve more effectively. Responsible management of success means becoming a true facilitator of achievements, both for yourself and for the environment around you. Instead of seeing your triumph as a fortified castle, see it as a growth center that others can visit and from which they can also learn. Adaptability in a changing world. Success is not obtained and maintained in a static environment. In fact, as you progress, circumstances, trends, technologies, and even your personal interests change. If you are not able to adapt, sooner or later, you will feel that the achievement you had becomes obsolete or ceases to be relevant. Breaking resistance to change. It is common that after achieving certain goals, we develop some aversion to changing our strategies or learning new things. We think, I have come this far with this method. Why change it? However, the world moves at its own pace. Opportunities evolve and personal circumstances as well. Do not let comfort limit your ability to respond to new demands. Mental flexibility. Being flexible does not imply renouncing your essence or betraying your values. It is about being open to trying different paths and taking into account that past solutions may not work for the future. Practice mental plasticity by exercising creativity. Read about topics you had not explored, converse with people from different fields, and seek inspiration outside your usual circle. Learning from new mistakes. With adaptation, inevitably come mistakes. But those mistakes are not a permanent failure, but the most efficient way to adjust course. Each time you take a risk to change, you have the opportunity to learn something that can catapult you to a new level. Do not be afraid to discard methods that once worked but are no longer adequate. The important thing is current effectiveness and coherence, not attachment to the past. Renew your goals. Perhaps the success you sought 5 years ago no longer satisfies you or has transformed into something broader. That is normal and part of personal evolution. Reevaluate your goals periodically. Ask yourself if they still reflect your true desires and needs. Adjusting the goal is not failing. It is admitting that you have matured and that life is in constant movement. Adaptability, in essence, is the virtue that allows you to keep moving forward when everything around you changes. In other words, you do not get stuck in an outdated model of success, but maintain freshness and the ability to reinvent yourself as many times as necessary. Generosity as a pillar of sustainable growth. For many people, the word success is associated with individual achievements, with being the best, or standing out in what they do. However, true prosperity, the one that is maintained and expanded, usually arises from a generous attitude and a genuine commitment to the well-being of others. Breaking the false belief that giving is losing. Sometimes we fear that by sharing our knowledge, resources, or time, we will be left with less. However, generosity creates support networks and gratitude that, in the long run, multiply opportunities. When you help others grow, you cultivate deep and sincere relationships. These connections can lead to future collaborations, valuable feedback, and a reputation that opens doors you did not even imagine. Generosity equals confidence in yourself. Being generous is also a way to demonstrate that you trust in your own capabilities. If the idea of others copying you or taking advantage of your ideas terrifies you, perhaps there are underlying insecurities worth examining. The confidence you have in your talent and ingenuity should be so strong that you do not fear others' success, but see it as an opportunity to enrich your field of action. Positive impact and legacy. Beyond the immediate benefits, generosity shapes your legacy. How do you want to be remembered when time passes? As someone who only looked out for themselves? Or as someone who planted the seed of improvement in others? Your legacy does not consist only of material goods, but in the inspiration and motivation you leave in those around you. Those who have received your support and guidance can become multipliers of that positive energy, creating a sort of chain of collective growth. The paradox of abundance. Often, giving to others does not reduce what we have, but creates a sense of abundance and internal satisfaction that is hard to describe. Sharing your success or resources to the extent of your possibilities reinforces the idea that there is enough for everyone, and that positive mentality feeds back your own motivation. Generosity, far from being a mere altruistic gesture, is an intelligent strategy to consolidate and prolong your success. When you integrate this quality authentically, you gain the respect and admiration of those around you, and if at any moment you face difficult times, you will find people willing to lend you a hand, gladly. You have seen how the fragility of success can take us by surprise, and that constant vigilance is a kind of shield to protect us from falling into complacency or arrogance. You also reviewed the need to manage what you obtain with responsibility and humility, to practice adaptability to avoid becoming obsolete, and to strengthen your generosity to build genuine relationships and alliances. However, this second part does not yet cover all the nuances and exercises that could make the difference between theoretical knowledge and real transformation. There are more specific tactics and deeper examples that will help you train your mind and your habits more effectively, preventing your own subconscious from managing to destroy all your progress. For time reasons, we have not been able to delve into every detail, but in Part 3, we will delve into just that. Daily techniques to reinforce your self-confidence without falling into arrogance. Practical methods to measure your growth and detect early signs of self-sabotage in high-stress situations. Ways to balance personal satisfaction with social commitment so that success does not isolate you, but connects you with more people and resources. strategies to continue expanding your horizons and channeling your vision towards increasingly challenging projects, keeping your feet on the ground and your motivation high. Part 3 contains tools and perspectives that will seal your ability to live success fully, consistently, and increasingly enriching.